for the record, give me 1 moment so I can go make my phone call, and then
It's kind of touching right now. No, you're 5:13.
Oh, you gotta go there, right? You gotta go there.
Oh my God. You don't have your notes. Well, then they should know what you did. Oh, on the back. Oh. Well, you know, we was in the middle of our class. We was in, you're right, that's what I'm saying. We was
okay, let's go on the record, please. In the state of Florida versus Medina, State Defense, Mr. Medina, are present. I will remind everybody who is in the audience, welcome. We're happy to have you. Please make sure all cell phones are turned off. No talking in court. No outbursts of any kind. No photography other than the still photographer and the videographer that have been selected by the pool according to the administrative order. I will remind our videographer, good morning, Eric, please make sure that you are not recording anything that happens at either a state or defense table as far as audio. Obviously, all of that is work product. And I will remind everybody in the audience that there is no other type of photography, and we'll be working on those issues. State, do you have any other issues you'd like to address before the jury is brought in?
Judge, just very briefly, one, I handed to your clerk to put into evidence, which I'll ask the court to read later prior to Dr. Liu's testimony, the written stipulation of legal ID that we had agreed to sidebar prior to Ms. Knox's testimony. It has been signed by the state. I'll let you know. I just wanted to have it ready so that it's done and whatever.
Okay,
so,
as we get closer on a break before you call that witness, I'll call with me, Mr. Medina, that is in fact his signature, but we don't need to do that right now. I'll put that on our to-do list.
Well, Judge, then I would actually, if for some reason he changes his mind, then I would need to recall somebody, and I would want to do that before I put on the medical examiner. And so if that's
why I'm saying
maybe we could do it sooner rather than later, if you don't mind.
Okay, have you spoken to him about that?
I wanted to sign it.
Okay. Let me just take a peek at it. Okay, Mr. Medina, if you would kindly stand, please. And if I can, Mr. Yule, if I can. Okay. Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Lower your hand and please state your full name for the record.
Eric Bernardino.
And Mr. Medina, your birth date,
23rd.
highest level of education you have completed.
College, Your Honor.
Are you presently under the influence of any illegal drugs or alcohol?
No, Your Honor.
Have you ever been treated for mental illness?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Medina, it is my understanding that you have agreed to the stipulation that was formulated by the state of Florida, and I hold the document in my hand, and I will read the document to you. It reads, "The stipulation is an agreement between the state and the defense that allows the court and the jury to accept a piece of evidence without going through the technical requirement of introducing that evidence. In this case, the state and the defense have stipulated to what is known as legal identification of the victim. This means that Jennifer Alfonso is the person who died and was autopsied under Dade County Medical Examiner case number 2013 2075. Have you had an opportunity to review this document with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you in agreement with this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is this your signature on the second line on the left-hand side of this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And does your signature indicate that you are in agreement with the contents of this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you making that announcement to the court freely and voluntarily?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anybody forced or coerced you to?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and for the record, it is for state's identification, 9N as in Nancy. Thank you, Mr. Medina.
I think it actually comes in as evidence, Judge, since it's stipulated. It doesn't need an
Okay, so
ID
will you
number.
stipulate it to it at this point?
So stipulated.
Okay, so it'll be moved in without objection, and then you can produce it in front of the jury at the appropriate time, hand it to me, and I'll be happy to read it.
Thank you, Judge. And the only other thing that I wanted to do just was update you on the two items from the defense's discovery that I was awaiting. One was an article, if the court recalls, that I had brought up from the deposition as well as the raw data. I did receive from Mr. Padilla yesterday what we thought was an article. It turns out it's one piece of paper. I haven't reviewed it to see if it's complete, but I'm going to assume that that's what it was, and I'm still waiting for the raw data, which you ordered today by the close of business. So I'll be
Judge,
waiting for
I'll
that.
address this. We did provide the document that we've given the government is what we have. So we're in compliance with that request. It may not be an article, but it's in essence a formatted analysis that our expert relied on. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when we were given the request, we immediately contacted NMS Labs. NMS Labs has standards and protocol that they can violate. We received an email last night, or yesterday, I don't remember exactly the timeline, from NMS Labs saying that the time to produce what they're asking for is 2 to 4 weeks. We have the email, is it 1 or 2 or 2 to 4? 2 to 4. 2 to 4 weeks. I will once again bring it to the court's attention that we listed Dr. Barry Logan in March of this year. The government chose not to take his deposition until we were in essence in jury selection. We are in compliance with what we can do, Judge. They don't work over.
This is what I'm going to do so we can move with the jury right now and we can litigate this further. Provide that email to the state of Florida so that they can have the
Forwarding it right
opportunity
now.
to observe it
Yes, sir.
and read it and make their argument. Okay? Anything else from the state at this time? Keep that one on your to-do list. Defense, anything?
Yes, Judge. We kind of wanted to see if the court would, if we could get a estimation. I know that at the inception of this case, the prosecution indicated that it would take 5 days for them to present their case in chief. We've listed experts that are located throughout the continental United States. We wanted to see if the prosecution would provide us, it would let us know if they still foresee it being 5 days, so we can start preparing ourselves accordingly, so we can be.
Today's work.
Judge, we'll discuss it at the end of the day.
Yeah, let's see how our progress is today. That
That's
might give them
fair.
a better idea.
As long as we can get that information to us by the end of the day, so we can start working on things like that.
That's fair enough. Okay, is the state and the defense ready for the jury?
One more thing, I'll provide the court with the
Thank you. Okay.
for the record, I showed it.
Your Honor, with regards to the email that we received from NMS Labs, do you want us just to send it to the prosecution, or would you like to be copied as well, Your Honor?
You're welcome to forward it to me. I think it's,
If it's
at this
okay with the
stage, it's more
prosecution?
important for the prosecution to see it.
Okay, we'll send it to both the court and the government.
Good morning, Judge Columbus. Here.
Can I have Ms. Klein and a member of the defense team sidebar and read the court reporter?
Sure, Judge, I'll be in a second.
Actually, it's a county court case. It's already done.
Okay. 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 Remember I told you I was going to stay? Don't worry about it.
Okay, all rise for the jury, please.
Please rise.
Welcome back. Who's in your pads? Your pads of paper? Please be seated, everybody, for the record. The state, defense, Mr. Medina, and all of our jurors are accounted for. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a wonderful evening. Has everybody followed my rules? Not to come to any formed opinions, not to speak to anyone, not to allow anyone to speak to you. No outside research and no Facebook. Yes. Okay, we'll just give a moment. Let us have the witness come back in, please. And we will wait for the notepads for the jurors. I apologize for that. Okay, that's fine. Good morning. Good time to come take a seat.
Good morning.
Okay, again, for the record, the State Defense, Mr. Medina, Oliver, Georgia, 10-4, Officer Pascal, still on the stand. Ma'am, will you confirm for me that you are still under oath, having sworn or affirmed to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Defense?
Yes, Judge. May I inquire? Is your mic free? Thank you. Detective, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's start off where we left off. Okay. We were discussing, obviously, your involvement in this case and the manner in which you conducted your blood spatter analysis. Okay. Let's go over. Let me ask you a question. With regards to your analysis, you indicated on direct examination that you got there, that you utilized the oven area, the area where the photographs were shown to you to make certain opinions, correct?
Correct.
And I have I've reviewed your report. We've discussed your report already, correct?
Correct.
In terms of doing your analysis, other than the photographs and the measurements that were taken by the ruler, did you do any further scientific analysis to come to your conclusion?
No, and there's,
Okay.
I need to follow that.
Well, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Objection, Your Honor, the witness should be able to finish her answer.
You'll have the opportunity for redirect. Excuse me, you may ask your next question.
Thank you. So, an area of convergence, do you know what that is? A point of convergence? A point of convergence is a scientific term associated with blood spatter, correct?
That is correct.
And it's typical for investigators in situations like this to use strings to determine the area of convergence, correct?
That is correct.
And protractors, correct?
Correct.
Mathematical equations, correct?
Arson, it's called arson.
And was that done in this case? Were you given the opportunity to do these analysis? Let me ask it another way. I apologize. Withdraw. Did you have the opportunity to do the string analysis on the night in question?
No, it didn't.
You did not. What stopped you from doing it?
If I can explain myself now.
Absolutely.
There is a difference between documenting blood spatter and there is a difference documenting blood spatter scene and another to reconstruct a blood spatter scene. The reason why there's an area where spatter is located or seen or viewed. So if I have several patterns in an area, then now I'm questioning there's movement, there's positioning, there's something that happened during that event.
Okay, so let me just stop you there. So you're saying that there's possible movement, because I remember your analysis, what your conclusion was that she was stationary.
I'm
Correct.
giving an example.
No, but-
One person can talk at a time.
Respectfully, detective, your opinion on direct examination was that she was stationary. Now you're telling the jury that one of the reasons why you did what is normally considered a standard protocol in determining blood spatter analysis to find a point of convergence is to use string analysis. And you didn't do that.
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what you said.
No, that's not what I said.
That's okay.
Okay, don't fight with the witness.
I'm not fighting with the
Ask your
witness.
next
I'm going to let the jury rely on their own recognition and their own recall of her testimony.
Ask your next question, please.
Yes, Judge. Did you have an opportunity? We removed a piece of a cabinet door. You're familiar with this, correct? Okay. Did you take the opportunity to remove that oven area that memorialized what's in the pictures to take it back to your lab and do a reconstruction? Did you do that?
No, we didn't.
Did you take, well, you'll agree with me that if the blood spatter that was located on the oven had microfibers or microfilaments of her clothing, that may indicate what area the gunshots, what area, let me rephrase that. You agree with me that the blood spatter had filaments or microfibers that were consistent with your clothing that could lead you to the area which is called the blood splatter, correct?
No.
No?
The blood spatter is what is indicating me.
So blood splatter never contains microfilaments of potential clothing?
I'm not saying that it doesn't, but it's not what took me to the conclusion of me viewing the pattern that I saw here.
Let me ask you in another way. Did you guys take the blood that was against the oven wall and have it analyzed to see if there were microfibers that matched the decedent's clothing to give you a better understanding of potentially where that spatter could come from?
It was enough.
It wasn't enough.
Officer, please make sure your voice is raised. Thank you.
Thank you.
With regards to, there were 3 crime scene officers, detectives, I apologize, detectives that were at the incident location, correct?
That is correct.
Pardon me. It was yourself, Officer Rosell, and Officer Garcia, correct?
Yes.
Who was the leader, the chief crime scene investigator assigned to run that operation?
The crime scene detective was Detective Yvonne Garcia.
So would it be fair to say that Yvonne Garcia, in this specific situation, got together and indicated what you were supposed to do, what Officer Rosella was supposed to do? Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
And that's normal. You guys sit down and say, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, I'm going to do Z, correct?
Correct.
Were you in the kitchen when the knives were removed from the drawers? Well, I'm sorry, when the knife was removed from the drawer and photographed and bagged?
No, I was not.
Were you with the detective that made, let me rephrase that. Were you present when the instruction was given that only one knife out of that drawer be taken into custody, or into evidence? I'm taking that into custody, I apologize.
Counsel, since I was not the detective impounding the item in question that you're asking me, you will have to ask the detective that actually impounded that.
And do you know who that was?
I don't recall.
And the reason why I asked you, and I understand that, is because I want to know if you were present when that position was taken, where only one of the knives was.
You will have to ask the detective that was in charge of impounding that piece of evidence.
Did you see the drawer of knives at any point while you were in doing your investigation?
Of course.
Okay. When only one of the knives was taken out, did you question why are we only taking one of the knives?
Once again, you need to ask the person who collected the item. I was not in charge of it.
I understand that, detective, but what I'm saying is, as someone that has the amount of experience that you have, did you find it odd that only one of a slew of knives was retrieved from that drawer?
Do I find it odd?
I'm asking on the night in question, when you were doing your due diligence and they opened the drawer and they picked out one knife, and there was a ton of
I'm
knives.
pretty sure with my experience and with the experience of my other colleagues is that if there are 10 knives and they're all 10 knives except for one has apparent blood spatter on it, then we will take the one that shows blood spatter or apparent blood spatter.
Apparent blood splatter.
Correct.
So, did you see the knife that had the apparent blood splatter on it?
I don't recall because since I was not involved with the collection of that particular item.
Did you see the other knives? Let me rephrase that question. Were you there when the knives were being analyzed?
No, I already explained that to you.
Would it be fair to say, based on your analysis, that you believe that my client was the aggressor in this situation?
Objection, the element still speculation.
Sustained.
You had Miss Alfonso in a stationary crouched position?
I'm sorry? Can you repeat that question?
Miss Alfonso, the decedent, you had her in a cowering position, is that correct?
I have her.
Would you,
Did I have her in a current position? No.
based on your opinion, my officer,
She was in the corner of the kitchen with her kneading. Her legs were backwards with the back of her feet facing up and leaning back. Yes.
all right, so would you say that that would be indicative of someone that's the aggressor or non-aggressor?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
One second. Detective, did you indicate in your report my client's height?
No, sir.
Judge, subject to recall, including my cross-examination.
Redirect?
Good morning again, officer.
Good morning.
I want to go back initially to some things that were discussed yesterday.
Okay.
Specifically with respect to Luminol. Remember being asked some questions about Luminol?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is Luminol used for as far as a crime scene investigative work?
Once again, luminol is basically a chemical that reacts to the hemoglobin, which is the iron in the blood. And we use this when we suspect that a cleanup job has been done at a crime scene. Since luminol reacts to the hemoglobin, what this, in layman's term, is that it fluoresces. It brings out a blue bright light because it reacts to that hemoglobin. So we can then say that blood was in contact with this item or floor or a wall, and it was clean.
In this particular investigation, did you have any indications based upon your review of the crime scene that there had been a cleanup involved?
No, sir.
Did you smell any chemicals indicative of a possible cleanup having been involved?
No, sir.
Bleach or anything of that nature?
No, sir.
Now, there was also some discussion yesterday during your cross-examination about the term impact spatter. Do you remember
Correct.
that? Okay. Can you explain or elaborate for the jury, please, what exactly impact spatter means?
Impact spatter is the force that is applied to a source of blood. In order for me to even explain it better, if we talk about passive blood stain, is one that, let's say, for example, I cut my finger, I'm standing, and I'm just passively bleeding into the floor around 90 degrees, they're very passive. And as you put force into something, if I have a ball full of blood in my hands, and I apply, it could be a gun, it could be a hammer, it could be a bat, but the force that I'm applying to that ball of blood is going to create a spatter that is going to be either a mist, depending on the force that was created to hit it, or it's going to be small to medium size. Now, when we talk about the sizes, now we got to start talking about angles of impact.
Now, with respect to what you said earlier about possible guns, do bullets, in your experience and based upon your training, do bullets create impact spatter when they make impact
Yes,
with
sir.
the flesh?
Absolutely.
Okay. Did you observe any stains in this particular scene indicative of impact spatter?
Yes, sir.
Where did you observe those?
On the fascia of the door, the oven door.
Showing you what has been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 135 in evidence. Are the impact spatters you referenced just there
Yes.
visible on that door?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I step down?
Yes, sir.
Could you please, using my pen if you would, or your own if you have one, show the jury, just hold the photo up and make it clear to them on that oven door what you have interpreted as impact spatters indicative of a potential bullet striking the flesh.
You see in this area is where that impact pattern is observed on the oven. Not to be confused with the transport that is on the bottom of the oven.
And on the bottom, you mean the panel you pull out?
Correct.
Okay. Rest of the jurors to make sure everyone gets a good view of it.
This area. Yes.
Did you observe, I want to also revisit an issue that was asked on cross yesterday about impact spatter on the carpet. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did you observe any impact spatter on the carpet upon which Jennifer Alfonso was laying when you processed this scene?
No, sir.
Showing you what has been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit number 79. You recognize that as a view, or at least a portion of view of the carpet in question?
Yes, sir.
And does that have the gun still on it?
Yes.
All right. Do you observe in plain view any blood on that carpet?
At the time of I was actually present at the scene. I viewed the carpet, and there was nothing indicative of impact pattern on the carpet.
Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibit 79 to the jury?
Yeah.
Now, Detective, I want to ask you a little bit about some of the injuries to Jennifer Alfonso. Based upon your review of the scene, did she have injuries that appeared to be bleeding?
Yes.
Showing you what has been admitted into evidence at State's Exhibit number 116. Officer, I'm showing you State's 116 in evidence. Do you recall viewing those injuries on Ms. Alfonso's body on the night in question?
Yes.
And what sort of injuries appear to be evident in that photograph to her left arm or wrist?
What we've seen in this photograph is multiple gunshot wounds to her left arm.
Now, put that on the screen for everyone to get a good look. Now, you mentioned a moment ago about the difference between impact spatter versus passive blood dripping down, right?
Correct.
So let me just ask you a hypothetical based upon your training and experience with respect to bloodstain pattern analysis. If Jennifer Alfonso had been standing in the middle of the kitchen, in the middle of the carpet, at the time that those 5 gunshot wounds were inflicted to her wrist, would you expect, based upon your training and experience, to have viewed some indications of passive blood spatter on those areas of the carpet that we just viewed?
Yes, sir.
And again, did you view or observe any passive dripping blood in the front area of the carpet closer to the entranceway to the kitchen?
No, sir.
something that just came up today with respect to point of convergence, and I want to give you a chance to explain yourself more fully since I think you were interrupted in the middle of your answer.
Objection.
No reconstruction of the blood scene done in this particular case, why only a documentation of the blood stain pattern analysis was done to the jury.
Well, I was trying to explain before. If I have several patterns of blood spatter on a scene, that is indicative of a movement. Something was transpired that caused all these patterns to be present. When that occurs, then we have to reconstruct that to show position, movement, position of target and the target and point of impact. So there's a lot of movement now going on into that scene that I need to now recreate in order for me to identify what happened in the past that created this pattern. In my case, when I went to the scene, I only had one pattern. One pattern.
And where was that one pattern confined to?
In the northern corner of the kitchen by the oven door and next to the cabinet.
So, had you, hypothetically, responded to this scene, and had you observed blood-stained patterns all over the surrounding walls and cabinets, is that the sort of scene that would more easily lend itself to a reconstruction with the strings, as you were explaining?
Absolutely.
Okay. But did you see that in this particular case?
No, sir.
I want to ask you another hypothetical. Again, reviewing the injuries to Jennifer Alfonso that we're seeing on that big screen there. Hypothetically speaking, based upon your training and experience in the area of blood stain pattern analysis, had Jennifer Alfonso sustained those 5 injuries that we're viewing that we see on her wrist displayed very clearly, and had she been punching and flailing that arm about after she received those injuries or while she was receiving those injuries to her arm, and had that punching and flailing of her arm been taking place in that small confined kitchen, which is what we have here, would you expect to see any evidence of that on the surrounding surfaces?
Absolutely. We'll be seeing then patterns of casting.
What is casting?
Casting is the action of blood flying into the air, hitting a surface, creating a line, and spatter surrounding that line.
And so was any casting of blood observed on any of the surrounding surfaces during your examination of the scene?
No, sir.
Okay. And was it looked for? Was the
Yes,
entire scene?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Detective, you are excused.
Judge, the government's keeping an exhibit displayed on the television and asked that since the witness
Mr.
is
Dunn,
no
can you
longer...
please
Yes, ma'am.
remove that exhibit, return it to the clerk? Thank you. State, please call your next witness.
State calls Detective Garcia.
Detective Garcia, please. Folks, please come in and take a seat. Detective, please come forward to be sworn.
Please swear on the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
You may have a seat at the witness stand.
Ma'am, please make sure that your answers are out loud, loud enough that all of our jurors can hear you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Dunn, when she is ready, you may begin your inquiry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please support. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I'm Officer Yvonne Garcia.
By whom are you employed?
Miami-Dade Police Department, Crime Scene Division.
How long have you been with Miami-Dade?
21 years.
And specifically, how long have you been with crime scene?
11 years.
What is the function of the crime scene unit at the Miami-Dade Police Department?
We respond to major crimes. We document, collect evidence, and submit it to the lab.
You also work homicides.
Yes.
How many homicides have you personally done in your career, approximately?
I don't have an exact number, but quite a few.
Were you on duty back on August 8th of 2013?
Yes.
And on that date, were you assigned to investigate a homicide under Miami-Dade Police Department case number PD 130808291623?
Yes.
Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you became involved in this investigation?
We got a phone call to our crime scene office, basically stating that there had been a homicide, and I was up for the homicide.
So you basically do a rotation?
Yes, we have a rotation.
Were you designated as the lead crime scene investigator in this particular homicide?
Yes, I was.
What does that mean to be the lead investigator?
Basically, I'm the one who writes the report, or the main report, and I gather enough information that I can delegate other crime scene technicians or detectives to help me out.
Who else was helping you with this particular scene on this day?
Detective Rosello and Detective Pasquale.
What was the address where the homicide occurred that you responded to?
5555 Southwest 67th Avenue, number 105.
In what jurisdiction or municipality is that located in?
It's located within Miami-Dade County, and it's South Miami.
Did you write a report in this case?
Yes, I did.
And you have that report with you?
I do.
How many pages is your report?
9 pages.
What was the name of the deceased in this investigation?
Jennifer.
Did you respond to the scene of the homicide?
Yes, I did.
And did you enter the scene at some point?
Yes.
At what point do you enter the scene?
I don't have an exact time, but it would have been after arrival, honestly.
Is there anything you have to wait for before you're allowed to enter the scene?
Well, we gather some information. Most cases require search warrants, so we generally wait until everything's on scene.
So take us into the scene, beginning with where the body was located, please.
The victim was located inside the kitchen of the townhouse.
And can you describe the position she was in when you observed her?
She was laying supine, basically body up, face up, and she was bent from her knees down. Her knees were behind her, feet were behind her, and she was lying back.
Did you observe any apparent or obvious signs of injuries on the deceased?
Yes.
And what type of injuries did you observe in your plain view?
Multiple gunshot wounds to her body.
And did you observe any items of physical evidence around her body?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What was that?
Casings, a firearm, a knife. There was a projectile located afterward, after we moved the body.
Was there a sketch prepared in this case?
Yes, there was.
And who prepared that sketch?
Detective Pasquale.
Now, can you describe a little bit the process that goes into preparing a crime scene sketch in a case like this?
Basically, we take measurements. We pick two locations that are not going to be moving, walls, roadways, things like that. From the walls that we choose, whichever wall they may be, and they're different in every scene, you would measure the distance from the piece of evidence from one wall and then to another wall, so that we could go back and plug it back in if we had to.
Now, did you sketch both floors of this residence?
We only sketched the first one.
Okay, and why was that?
Because that's what it is.
Was there some evidence found on the top floor?
Yes, it was.
All right. But did you consider the primary scene to be the initial first floor?
Yes, we did.
Once Detective Pasquale prepares the sketch, what is the picture at that point?
She shows it to me. I basically approve it. Once I approve it, it gets filed and sent copies to homicide.
And why do you have to approve the sketch?
Because I'm the lead, and the lead of all homicides has to approve the final sketch.
And when do you approve the sketch?
When she's completed with it, she shows it to me.
Is it done that night or another night, another day?
It could, there's no time frame for it. It could be done whenever she gets to it.
Now, are all the items of evidence that you collected in this case visible on the sketch that we're talking about here?
No.
All right. Can you explain why not?
Well, number 8, the holster was on the second floor, which we didn't sketch. And there was a casing and a projectile that was found underneath the victim. And when we're processing the victim, that's the very last step of a homicide. So whatever is underneath her or not visible looking at her won't be touched until the image gets there and we start processing bodies. So when it's discovered after the fact, we just don't put it on the sketch.
Now, with respect to the sketches, are these done to scale?
No.
Okay. And what does that mean, being done to scale?
That means it's an exact precision to the measurements of the walls of the house and the items in the house, the cabinets, the refrigerator. Everything would have to be precision measurements.
Okay. Why aren't the sketches done to scale, or why can't they be done to scale?
A, we don't
Judge,
have,
Judge, also speculation.
Only if you know me, do not guess or assume.
we don't have the program for the exact measurements, and B, it's just not, I mean, we don't have the program for the exact measurements, and B, it's just not, I mean, it's, the legend on the front cover and the sketch on the back cover.
How many pages is that document, first of all?
3.
Okay. And do you recognize that as the sketch prepared by your colleague, Detective Pasquale, in this particular homicide investigation?
Yes, I do.
And can you go through what is depicted on each of the 3 pages, beginning with the first?
The very first page is the first wall we determined to get the measurements from, and it's the evidence marked 1 through...
Ma'am, put it down, it's not getting evidence.
Sorry?
Just answer the question verbally.
And just describe, with respect, Judge, she's testifying off a piece of a document that's not in evidence. I moved to strike.
Sustained.
And I can
Ask your
sort of-
next question.
Can you describe?
Basically the measurements, and then page 3 is the actual diagram of the sketch.
And is this sketch a fair and accurate printout of the one that was prepared by Detective Pasquale in relation to this case?
Yes, it is.
And that you approve?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves.
Defense?
Judge, with respect to that, we object. It's hearsay. It was prepared by, it's hearsay.
Overruled.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. Say exhibit number 139.
Yes, you may.
Jury publishing 139 on the screen. One sketch what is being described here.
This is the first page of the legend, which is the measurements of the items from this wall, this particular wall.
And page 2 is exhibit 139.
Second page of the legend as well. The same pieces of evidence from the separate wall or different wall.
And the final page, 139 evidence.
And that's the general vision of what is moving.
And now we'll leave that one up, and you can have a seat on some other items of evidence, please. Did you collect and impound any items of evidence from this kitchen area?
Yes, I did.
Now, procedurally, when you impound evidence, what date do you put on the property receipt and on the packaging?
The initial date of the actual homicide.
Now, you mentioned earlier about shell casings surrounding the body. Can you please explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what a shell casing exactly is?
Basically, a casing is the housing for the actual projectile of the bullet per se, which makes it one complete component.
And how many casings did you observe around Ms. Alfonso at this scene?
We collected 8 of them.
What caliber shell casings were these?
They were 380s.
Now, if I could just have you step down again briefly, and could you just show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, point out the numerical locations of the casings that were collected on this scene?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
And what about casing number 11? Where was that?
It was underneath the victim, and it was discovered after the murder.
Now, going back to casing before, when a firearm, when a gun is fired, do casings just drop straight down out of the gun?
No, they eject to the right.
And at what distance do casings generally eject from a gun after it is fired?
3 to 5 feet.
Detective, I'm showing you what has been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit number 107.
Can you tell me if you recognize that?
Yes.
And for the record, which casing is that?
Number 10.
And there appears to be a bowl of something next to casing number 10. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you recall what was in that bowl?
It was some kind of a cookie dough or baking dough.
Was that the only casing that was not on the floor?
Yes.
Now, as an investigator, what does the total number of shell casings incur?
How many shells were possibly fired from the firearm?
Your Honor, for the record, I'm showing defense counsel what has been marked as State's 1G for the litigation. Approach the witness.
Detective, I'm showing you, you're already putting your gloves on, that's good. Showing you State's 1G for identification. Go ahead and finish putting the gloves on and take a look at that. Tell me if you recognize it.
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
The pill boxes, which are the white boxes, they're all signed and sealed by me, initials, and they have all the case number and the scene in there.
And what is that exhibit for the record?
Projectile, one projectile and cases.
And how many total cases are we looking at there in that box?
8.
And how many projectiles?
1.
And are these items in the same or substantially the same condition as they were when you collected them and sealed them?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time the State moves 1G into evidence.
Any objection?
None.
So moved.
Hand it to the clerk, please.
Exhibit number 140.
Detective, the clerk is going to hand you some scissors. If you could please open State's 140 in evidence.
And
box? Okay, could you please open that one up so we can show the members? May the witness step down, Your Honor.
She may.
Please don't speak to the jury, okay?
Judge, I'm going to object to the manner this is being published. If they're going to publish it, hand it to the jurors and let the jurors do it, not having a law enforcement officer.
Respectfully denied. If you could just hold it up and let everybody see it. And then incentive, if you can come over to this side and show it to this side of the jury.
Thank you, Detective. You can place that back in the box, please. And now I'm going to ask if you could leave your gloves on.
I need a new one because that one has blood.
And now I'm going to ask if you could remove one of the boxes of case.
Can I get one more please? Sure.
Do it away the other one.
I'm sorry, you said one more casing?
Yes, just one of the casings, please. And for the record, were all of the casings essentially identical in terms of the manufacturer?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Just show the jury.
I'll open it?
Yeah. May the witness step down again.
She may.
For the record, which number of casing are you showing the jury?
This is number 6.
You can take it out. Good.
Judge, respectfully, same objection. I know the ruling, I just have to lay the record out.
Thank you, Lieutenant Garcia. You can place that evidence back in its box as well. And please hand the evidence back to the president. Detective, now I'm going to move on to the firearm. What number was the firearm labeled in that crime scene sketch?
Number 7.
Okay. And was that gun collected as evidence?
Yes, sir.
What was the make, model, and serial number of that firearm?
Your Honor, I'm showing defense counsel what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 1J. Approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Detective, I'm showing you what has been marked as 1J for identification. Can you please tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, I do. It's a gun box, my right hand, my ceiling.
And is that the firearm collected in this case?
Yes, it is.
And does it appear to be in the same, substantially the same condition collected in the crime scene?
With the exception of the processing section, yes.
Okay. When you say the processing section, what does that mean?
Well, when I submit it, it's inside the box. When they process it, it will be done to it. It's on that side.
And my base at the crime
The
scene.
crime lab.
Other than the apparent processing of the gun, does it appear to be in the same condition?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state will go into the evidence.
Any objection?
No.
So moved.
Please stand.
Very good. Maybe one.
first of all, been rendered safe?
Yes, it is.
How so?
It has a strap through the chamber and where the magazine clip would go, so it can't be fired. It's empty.
And for the record, can you just hold up and explain to the jury what they're looking at with these two different objects?
This would be the actual firearm.
Your Honor, may the witness step down?
Yes, sir.
You can take both objects and just tell the jury what these two things are.
This is the actual person.
Judge, I'm going to raise the same objection.
If you can have her proffer, and then you can have her testify.
Okay. Without speaking to the jury, can you please just show the jury what they're looking at first? Thank you, officer. You can place the object back into the evidence bag, please. Was that gun empty when you found it?
When I found it, the magazine is inserted.
Okay. And the magazine itself, did it have any bullets?
No.
Thank you. You can hand the evidence back to the witness. Now, were any knives collected from this scene?
Yes, one.
And where was that knife collected from?
In one of the drawers in the kitchen.
And why was this particular knife collected?
It had what appears a possible blood stain on the handle, so we took it.
I'm showing you what has been marked as States 9L for identification and defense counsel first. Detective Garcia, I'm showing you State 1L for identification, 9L for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Do you recognize it?
It's the knife that we photographed with the little stain on it.
Okay. And is the stain that you thought may have been blood apparent on that photograph?
Yes, it is.
Does that appear to be in the same condition as the night it was photographed?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state moves this item into evidence.
Any objection from the defense? I'm sorry?
No, Judge, no.
With no objection, will so be moved. Thank you, Judge.
That exhibit number 142.
Do you know for a fact whether this speck was indeed blood?
No, I don't.
Was this knife submitted for processing to determine if it was blood?
Yes, it was.
Where was it submitted?
To ID and serology.
And may I have a witness step down from the front?
You may.
Showing the jury on the big screen, States 142. And can you please point out where on the handle you saw something that was possibly blood?
Okay.
Okay.
One K.
1K. Detective, I'm showing you States 1K for identification now. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do. It's the knife box that I put the knife in.
And does that appear to be in the same, potentially same condition as when you encountered it?
Yes.
Can you please open States 143 and publish to the jury?
Sure, may I get another glove?
It's okay. These are dirty.
Yes.
It's gonna be hard.
Folks in the back row, if you need to stand, please feel free to do so.
Thank you, Detective. You can package that back up and hand it to the clerk, please. And why was that single knife collected in the evidence to the exclusion of all the others that were in the drawer?
It was the only one that was different, that had the marking on it.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us take a 10-minute recess at this time. Please remember my rules and instructions. As always, I will ask that you be back at 11:25 at the other end of the hallway. Thank you. Just leave your pads behind.
Please rise.
Okay, we will be in recess for 10 minutes. Effective. You're welcome to enjoy a break. Obviously, you're still on the team, so you can't speak to anybody about your testimony. There's a restroom in the jury room if you'd like to use.
If they have one
Thank you.
inside.
That's fine, yeah. Just make sure you don't have any contact with our